It's great to be here, and I will talk a little bit about sort of what I view as the energy future, and a little bit about the legislature, some other things. I had the opportunity before, and I see Jim Swanson out there, runs the potion, they took me through the glacier park of Glendive today, so I had the opportunity to It's great to join you. Now, the first legislative session had to be surprising. I certainly didn't think that I'd be with Jim Peterson from Buffalo, standing side by side, talking about campaign finance reform on Valentine's Day, which kind of unlikely care. I didn't know that I'd necessarily be all the time working with chambers of commerce across our state to try to say, how do we actually create jobs, reform our healthcare system, and make a difference. And I really honestly didn't know that I'd be vetoing as many bills as I did. And I understand that some folks, and maybe even a few in Glendive, Republicans and Democrats, are upset about what happened. It's in between the mayor and his 9 family members, it seems, and everybody got a mess. Oh, by the way, I'm the mayor's sister. But quite frankly, I wasn't that happy with vetoing a bunch of these bills either. State of the state address, when I gave it, that was shortly after coming in, I told the legislators that we had to have a balanced budget. We can't spend more than we bring in, and that was my top priority. And I said, keep in mind that if I pull out my veto pen, it might not be personal, parts of it physical. So I was not pleased when the legislature left town without adequately doing the one job the Constitution requires the legislature to do. And that's leaving town, providing me a balanced budget, saying that we're not going to be spending more than we're taking in. They left town and gave me 200 bills, and without the opportunity to provide mandatory vetoes. And the budget they passed spent $21 million more than what we were bringing in. I was forced to pull out the veto pen and cut back some good bills. In total, we had to veto or line item out $150 million in spending and tax. So structural balance is just like as you look at your checkbook. You have more dollars in, or are you actually underwater? By the end of that, by the end of $150 million on a $10 billion budget, we now have $1.6 million of structural balance. So, in truth, across the board, there were Democrats, there were Republicans, there were folks in eastern Montana, there were folks in western Montana frustrated with some of those vetoes. And I said I was equally frustrated because I need to leave town with one thing that the Constitution requires. Now, nonetheless, we are making, had there not been this House Bill 218, significant investments in infrastructure in eastern Montana. $16 million in infrastructure development for oil and gas counties through the Treasure State Endowment Program. We ended up overall in the Treasure State Endowment Program putting in $20 million more than what I had initially proposed. To address the needs of school districts in Montana, oil and gas counties, approved $22 million in aid for those districts, 39 districts out of 416. Assisted the $2 million in needed workforce training funds that were eliminated by last legislature be restored. We made $5 million available for road construction in communities facing rapid growth. Pension fits that I actually signed into law to work with Democrats and Republicans for will go right off of the balance sheets. A community like Glendive who now actually has to report what their liabilities are on the pension system. Because we removed, actually fixed it, got it back to structural balance, that's about $2 million off their balance sheet. I was talking to Amy Dinas, and she said, so even a total of that is about $45 million into oil and gas counties. It wouldn't necessarily have been. But she said, we still often feel like uncle that gives away the money to all those nasty stepkids. And I think that the stepkids are probably people in western Montana, or I think it's also important that we understand what money then that the rich uncles give away. So each year right now we give out $200 million in oil and gas production taxes. That's what's collected in total. Of that $200 million, 50%, half of it, immediately goes back to the counties and the schools that ended up where the oil and gas was produced. There was a new education bill passed this time. It's Senate Bill 175. What Senate Bill 175 will end up doing is saying of the total amount of dollars you bring in. So if it's $200 million bucks, either 25% or $50 million will end up going back to the local areas for property tax relief. So the $200 million right now, the state's keeping. Then once you take the $100 million, give it back here, that 50%, now we're down to $50 million. Senate Bill 175, this education bill, said, all right, of all that oil and gas money and things, we're going to give $22 million bucks back to 39 districts. So now we're down to $13 million that those nasty stepkids are taking. No, my math may be a little wrong on that. Let me double check that. $28 million after you take the concentric circles, so now you're down to $28 million and $200. You look at the $15 million that we gave directly to the Treasury State down. You subtract that out, and you're down to 13. You did put $5 million in for construction funds on highways where there's rapid growth. We restored $2 million worth of training funds. That leaves about $6 million, or 3% of the overall oil and gas tax revenues that the state is keeping. Now, does that mean then that there aren't real infrastructure needs and we ought to be addressing them here? Absolutely not. There are real infrastructure needs, and as I've said all throughout, if we're really going to plan and look forward to what Montana can become, wherever you need to be addressing those needs to make sure that growth and development can occur. How many folks here are in business? How many of you borrowed any money? How many of you right now have your whole business just in cash? I may want to have your two businesses. We actually walked in and at the start of the session and sat down with a number of folks and said, all right, we sat down with representatives, legislators, mostly from Eastern Montana, some from Conrad, and said, right now we have record low interest rates. There are needs in Eastern Montana that are actually more significant than the $35 million that was in 218 that would have got this upside down. Let's actually put together that program. So I got DNC together, DEQ, and we came up with the dollars. We actually came up with what I thought would be the structure to go forward. Said, well, I'm not sure we'll have enough money at the end. Record low interest rates right now. Let's bond this work just like we're going to bond construction work around the state. No interest in doing so. I think, so it's not that Helen is giving all the oil and gas dollars. I don't think that we are. It's not that there aren't some real infrastructure needs, even though we're investing about $45 million. I think we need to go forward and get everybody, Democrats and Republicans, on board to say, how do we address these needs in a way that won't get our budget out of constitutional whack by spending more than we're bringing in? And how do we do it in a measured way to say that really this isn't just about 2013 or 2014, it's what we want Montana, Eastern Montana, Western Montana, everywhere to look like 8, 10 years down the line. That may require some bonding, some borrowing of dollars. That may require getting everybody at the table. What we can't do though, and I've already talked to legislators about it, we have to agree on how many dollars we actually have coming in. And we have to figure out a way that they can't leave town leaving me 200 bills and figuring out how to actually balance the budget that I hoped that they would do. So I think there's still work to do. And there will still be the continued commitment to trying to get that work done. And it's not just one legislative session, it's throughout. Energy bills, so to transition from the legislature, at least the vetoes, which have been frustrating some folks, and I said that frankly they're very frustrating to me too. It was Representative Banky, a guy who I really liked in Colstrip. I told him 2 weeks before the legislative session let out, I don't think that we can do this, because I'm not sure where the money will be. Legislature was just meeting today, trying to figure out, okay, where is that money? How much did we have? And no, we weren't structured. Some folks turned around and said, well, because I also insisted that we left, they left with $300 million in the bank. It's about a 15% reserve. On the one hand, that's $3 million that doesn't impact your structural balance, but it seems like a lot of money. We had 7 fires in Montana yesterday alone. Right now, what our forests are is usually what it is in mid-June. We can have economic downturns. We can have floods. At the end of the day, I think that Montanans also want to make sure that I'm managing your money the way you try to manage your own. To keep some aside in case something goes wrong. So we can continue to say, even through the Great Recession, there are only 2 states that actually stayed in the black, and Montana was one. And if we're going to continue to have good development, that's also what drives bond ratings, that's what drives opportunities for growth. Energy was also in some other areas front and center this legislative session. Signed bills making it easier to move wide loads on our roads, permit new gravel pits, temporarily lease water rights, all of which should help our booming oil and gas development. We expanded the scope of the renewable portfolio standard, designed to encourage new renewable power production, and as a result, now upgrades to hydroelectrics will qualify for energy credits. Also signed a bill offering more protection for private landowners in their negotiations with companies and, importantly, government agencies that want to acquire land under the state's eminent domain laws. Montanans, we have strong connection with the land, so it's important to find a fair balance between respect for private property and responsible development. You gather the career fair and so much of what drives us right now because we are fortunate to have abundant natural resources that have allowed our state to be an exporter of energy products for decades. As governor, one of my jobs is to assist you and others in using those energy resources and developing those energy resources to provide good paying jobs for Montanans, to strengthen rural communities, support our local schools, all while preserving the quality of life that keeps it so that we truly want to all live here. Montanans, I think, really do respect and protect our outdoor heritage, our communities, and our agricultural producers as well they should. That's why when I look at my administration, we're tasked with people looking forward, we're committed to maintaining sustainable, responsible development of the energy resources to benefit the state and our citizens. As the state promotes energy development, foster growth in this important sector, and put Montanans to work, we must do so in a way that protects the things that we all love about living here. From that side then, what we'll be looking at is the supporting and encouraging responsible development of all energy resources. What you can expect when I say responsible development is that the state will seek top dollar for our resources. We'll support landowners and private property owners. We'll work to address the needs, working with the legislature and also working with local governments, the needs of Montana communities facing booming energy development. And we'll protect our clean air, our pristine waters, and world-class wildlife. State government needs to do its part in working with you too to make sure that we can encourage responsible energy development and provide economic opportunities for Montanans. But that means making sure also that the state permitting process provides that degree of predictability and certainty. The biggest challenge isn't always what's the government doing, but not knowing how long it will take and what it will take to get to the point of permitting. So we need to be able to provide that predictability and certainty. And we need to be coordinating with industry and others and government through financing programs and tax incentives where we can. It also includes, though, if that's what we want for our energy future, supporting quality education opportunities for Montanans in energy-related fields of study, supporting the 2- and 4-year colleges, so we can encourage students to apply their knowledge here in the state. I've heard about big job fairs in Billings, and I was even talking to somebody about it today. I said, you know, it was great, but we're so few Montanans there. We need to make sure that the next generation, even the current generation, is getting the training so that they can stay in Montana and provide these jobs, not just other folks coming out from other states. And I think it also means that we need to work together to solve problems, because in Montana, I truly think we work best when we're working together. One of those areas where we're working together, we recently created the Sage Grouse Advisory Council to make sure that protecting the species doesn't interfere with our ability to use our lands and to promote energy development. Montana has more sage grouse than any other western state in Wyoming. I think that's worth preserving. And I think Montanans, though, can figure out how to do that better than anyone. So what we're doing with the council is we're bringing together diverse groups that will develop sort of the practical steps to protect sage grouse habitat, while also providing predictable and multiple uses of land, be it private, public, or state. Taking steps now and working together now will make sure, or help preclude at least the possibility of action under the Endangered Species Act to list the species. Because what we want to do is make sure that it's Montanans who lead the management of the game species, and it's Montanans who can manage our lands as we see fit. Communities in eastern Montana, and actually it's not just in the east, are facing both opportunities and challenges from the development throughout eastern Montana. Development of transloading facilities along a rail system to bring pipe and other necessary goods are creating jobs and new prospects for those communities. Diesel mechanics, truck drivers, contractors, and teachers are all in short supply. Workers from across the state are finding opportunities in the region. At the same time, though, the influx of workers has strained the municipal water and wastewater facilities, increased impacts on roads, created a shortage of affordable housing. All of which, as we look forward, we need to address. When you look at the overall larger picture of energy, I've identified and we're working on a number of priority areas where we'll focus our efforts over the next 4 years as we write the next chapter in what Montana's energy history can be. We'll continue to expand and diversify Montana energy production to assure affordable, dependable energy for Montanans. We need to be providing that atmosphere and opportunity that actually creates and encourages innovation across all energy sectors. We need to boost the responsible development of fossil fuels to meet current demand. Fossil fuels will be essential for the foreseeable future, and our state holds vast resources. Petroleum and coal industries together support billions of dollars in economic activity in Montana, and the jobs that we create are about 2 to 3 times what the average wage is for counties. Production severance and gross proceeds taxes, overall, much of that then, again, goes back to locals. On coal, oil, and gas, the risen from about $90 million paid in 2002 to about $300 million since 2008. It's important to our overall economy. It's important to those in local government who are trying to meet the needs. I will be working with our regulatory agencies that are charged with permitting Otter Creek and Tongue River to ensure that they can get that permitting process. It's certainly transparent to the public, which is essential. It's predictable for industry as we can, and it continues to be sufficiently protected for outdoor heritage in our communities. Done right, Otter Creek will bring in about $200 million annual benefit in jobs and tax revenues that could provide a major difference for our state. Recently wrote to the Secretary of Interior, more to this area than Otter Creek, explaining why hydraulic fracturing is so important to Montana and Montana's economic well-being. Asking the federal government to accept that the state regulation of this important procedure is protective of health and the environment, and we can do it, and maybe not impose new federal regulations on what we do here. I think as we look forward to it, we'll be more productive and create more opportunities. If we also, as we're doing everything here, also focus on developing technologies and what can be done. It can go from coal and liquids to sequestration projects underway in the Keaton Dome and Bell Creek oil fields. Montana's export commodities, whether it's grain, whether it's coal, whether it's timber or electricity, that's a big part of what we do. We need to make sure that we support the continued development of the pipeline, transmission, and rail infrastructure to move energy resources to the market. Pipelines generally represent the most efficient, safe means of transporting many energy commodities. Saw some folks from BN, so it's no slag. You guys are doing pretty well with that. But there's been a lot of action in the pipeline front. We'll continue. Recently completed Bullock and natural gas liquids pipeline, bringing in an estimated $12 million in property taxes. When it comes to Keystone, in January, my first month of office, I wrote to the president, expressed my strong support for Keystone pipeline. Just a couple weeks ago, I again wrote another letter, this one to the State Department. Again expressing my strong support, providing the pipeline is developed as it should be, as I think as we as Montanans would expect. And I think what we as Montanans expect is as that's developed, again, ensuring our top industry in the state, production agriculture, as well as the waters and wildlife habitats, are taken into consideration or adversely affected, taking into account the safety and security of the pipeline, the workers that are constructed, the communities that pass them. An incident like the pipeline breach that spilled 40,000 gallons of oil into the Yellowstone River isn't something we as Montanans want to have happen again. And as we go forward, it is imperative that the private property rights of Montana landowners be protected. This is a great opportunity for us. Moving 100,000 barrels a day of Bakken crude to the refinery will make a difference, and I'll continue to encourage you to get that done. Similar to pipelines, improving the regional transmission, the electric side of things, to build electrical transmission will enhance market access for electrical generators. You have a lot of oil and gas, a lot of coal development in this corner. Saw some incredible things on the wind side occurring in parts of Montana. Grown substantially over the last 5 years. $1.5 billion invested in wind farms transmission. Wind produced 4% of the state's electricity in 2011. That number will continue to increase. Last year we saw the installation of 259 megawatts, bringing to our state generation limiting capacity of 650 megawatts. But if you don't have the transmission, grid is actually one of probably the most complex pieces of machinery that's ever piecemealed together. That development will be challenging. It's also why we work with EPA and others to say, let's make sure that the transmission opportunities are everywhere. And finally, another area that we'll continue to focus on, conservation and efficiency. Countless ways I think that we can do more with less energy resources, to smarter, manner. knows that many of your homes, yes, you switch out microwaves, but we ought to also be upgraded with generator, motors, pumps, encouraging the use of the latest technologies in the business. Living in Montana, each and every one of us, we choose it's fun seeing classmates growing up down the street, and certainly we all could have gone other places. We choose to live here because we can enjoy a truly great quality of life. We have wide open spaces, we have a rural heritage, we have recreational opportunity that folks in other states might actually experience once or twice in their life. And it's truly outside of our back doors, wherever our back door might be. Montana's a great place to live, to work, and to raise a family. An affordable and abundant energy is and will continue to be important in driving our economy, powering our communities. But our energy future is up to us, and we must work together to shape it across this. And I do look forward to continuing to work with all of you, from industry to local government, and with Montana citizens. Create an energy future that creates jobs, increases the tax base, provides infrastructure, keeps energy affordable, and protects our quality of life. As we educate future generations, scientists, and business leaders, I'm optimistic that we're going to see an energy future that's reliable, effective, and secure.